Hi, this is Maurizio from Ex Deo and Kataklysm, and you're watching Impact Channel. Yes, been really good. Very long tour, 6 weeks long. We wanted to do a tour that because Ex Deo was on hiatus for 5-6 years. We hadn't toured for that long, and we thought it was we had an opening to do it. Ensiferum invited us. Hey, what are you guys doing? You want to do something? And I was like, you know what? We haven't toured for Immortal Wars. Maybe it's a good time to do it before we released the Kataklysm record, and the timing was perfect. So we decided to do it, and we don't regret it. It's been a very, very cool tour for us. And the cool thing is seeing the growth of the band from the last time we were here to now. It's like everybody knows the songs, So it's not like that you're going somewhere trying to sell the product. It's like they know what it is, So it's really cool to see that. It takes time. Everything takes time, We have some ideas. We're working on some ideas. I think it's going to be, if we have time, which is hopefully, in the next 2 years, we're going to do something. We have the concept. It's going to be really about how we're going to put it together. The time. That's what it is. But we have a good chemistry going on, and this tour has been very inspiring for us to do something again with Ex Deo. So it's always kind of a juggling thing, Ex Deo. I love the band. It's tough to have that and Kataklysm at the same time functioning as regular bands, So you kind of have to choose a little bit, So, but yeah, I think we're working on stuff. So something's gonna happen, I think. There's look, it's the Roman Empire is 1,000 years of history. You have things early on, and you got things later, and there's the Byzantine Empire as well. That's interesting, and there's stuff before that that I think more interesting. That before they got cut in half. I believe that people in the metal scene are more interested in if you are starting to explore more emperors and different type of craziness that you've seen. Although to me Carthage was too much of an important subject, two great generals that needed to be exposed more and reintegrated into the whole thing. I think they were important to do. So it was a great story that I could do a whole album concept. So if I go into something where I need to go and how do you say, explore a subject, it's difficult to do when you have to do 10 songs about it. So I'm a very to the point writer. So I'm a short, poetic type of writer. I don't write like fucking 20,000 lyrics. So I have to go and do it my way. So if the concept is right, then yeah, obviously, Hungary's got Attila, which was like one of the, the most ferocious adversaries Rome has ever encountered, and technically hasn't beaten him really, so it was a really a big one, but that was towards the end of the reign also. Yeah. It will be explored probably at some point. Well, the album is it's going to get released on the 1st. It's an album that we've taken a lot of time to write because we wrote it together. It's the first one since I think Serenity and Fire in the Arms era that we've been sitting together to write. It's a different direction. The band is exploring its roots, but at the same time it's exploring new. It's maintaining its root and exploring new. Different sounds, different arrangements, we're much more melodic record. I think the band has found its comfortable area. There's songs that are super heavy and there's songs that are going to be more soft, and it's just Kataklysm. I don't like the word soft. I'd like to say more, straightforward, and that's how we kind of release these two singles. You know, one is more extreme, melodic and in your face, and the other one is more straightforward, groove-oriented Kataklysm material. You know, so we're kind of you know, sending out that. We purposely released two singles that are short. Some people are freaking out about it. They think the whole album is gonna be like that. It's not. You know, that I love to fucking play with people's heads, and it's what's I think is awesome is that we just got the news yesterday that, you know, it's like kicking ass at Spotify and, you know, and iTunes and everywhere. It's like the most downloaded songs. Obviously, that's what's gonna happen if it's 2 minutes long, right? So it's like, so people will hear it over and over, and it's like it was number one, and Narcissist was one, and I think Guillotine is number three. So it's like, you know, and people are, it's like, why is it 2 minutes? Is the whole record, well, the record album's 15 minutes? I'm like, no, you know. So it's a complete Kataklysm record. We just chose to release the singles shorter, you know, so it's fun. Kataklysm's always been, well, I mean, because my way of writing is more social based, it's more everyday life. I can't sing about killing babies and I don't know, Satan and all that stuff. There's way too many bands doing it. It's not for me. It's not something that I have to, when I'm on that stage, I got to talk about something. So something that mattered to me, and it's my release, you know. The record's called Meditations for a reason, you know. It doesn't fit the concept of the metal record being called Meditations. It was kind of the opposite. But for me it is, because it's my healing, you know, and my music is what heals me, and when I listen to music it takes me away from all the bullshit, and if I need music to help me pump at the gym, I got it, you know. So to me it's always a very important aspect of my life, and I think that's why it's called the album Meditations, you know. And that was the goal behind it. So lyric based on life, and we continue to go that route, you know, as we have in the past records. There's a few, you know. Obviously, Guillotine is directed as somebody that I don't like, and that's for me. I leave it open for people to interpret. Narcissist is just a song that I wrote also because of the world we live in. Nobody's able to, not everybody's opinion is more important than what needs to be done now, you know. And selfies every 2 minutes everywhere. It's absolutely crazy. I'm guilty. I take it into to promote the band myself, whatever. But we're all guilty of it. So narcissism is. But there's people that are just too much. You know, like you bring it to the level where it's like. And I think it's hurting the world. You know, it's making the world sick a little bit. But for me, the personal track is Outsider. That song for me is important because it represents really what Kataklysm is about. It represents myself growing up and what I've been, you know. Never been part of a clique. I've always been independent on everything. The band has never been part of a movement, Florida death metal scene or New York scene or Swedish death metal. We've been Kataklysm, you know. It's a hybrid of different ideas, different approaches, and we've survived not belonging to anything. We just be ourselves, and I think that's you know, a huge accomplishment. And Kataklysm's music says the same thing. You can't define Kataklysm by one thing. You know, it's a hybrid of different influences that makes our sound unique. I can do a Slayer cover, sounds like Kataklysm, you know. So it's just the way we are, and I think our fan base is also reflective of that, because we have fans that are from everywhere. We don't have fans that are only death metal, you know, because for some death metal we're not. And for some, you know, we're like, yeah, they're hybrid of, you know, maybe melodic death metal and whatever. But, you know, sometimes you could throw us on tour with Slipknot or Pantera, you know, and we'll fit. So we are a little bit of, we're just a metal band, right? So it's all this other stuff that comes with it, and I guess that's the point to it, you know, to me. You know.
The concept reminds me of the Black Sheep from the last album.
Of this album? Mm-hmm. Yes, very, very, very. It's kind of a continuation of that. You know, we're kind of continuing that movement because we feel that it's connecting with fans. As soon as we released the Black Sheep, it was an instant hit. You know, people were like, "This is us." You know, like we. I see it again now. You know, like the comments of people on the songs and whatever. They always have to bash us. Some people ask for the old singer. You know, the guy's not been around for like fucking 20 years. You know, it's like I've done 10 albums with the band. The biggest Kataklysm records were done, you know, with this lineup and whatever, and it's like this. They keep bringing it up no matter what, and you know that they're not real fans, you know, because there's fans that like both eras and they respect both bands, but both versions, but they keep coming back and have to criticize, have to say something, you know. It's like, so it's to me, it's we've brushed it off now, you know. It's like whatever, because if you take everything personal about everybody, well, you don't have a career. It's impossible, you know. So. Kataklysm, I am connected as one with the fans. We are, the energy is like this, right? And it's like if I'm in somebody's backyard and I play, you know, it's very street-like. Ex Deo is a theatrical thing. I'm in a persona. I change my mind, you know, I get into the role of being the Roman, you know, on stage. And I love both. I've had a great time on this tour. It's been the first tour I'm comfortable with this. The other tours, it was difficult for me to go from one to another, you know. This, it's been like, yeah, I dig it. You know, we have a good system going, and it flows right. And two opposites that reunite, but they're opposites, you know, different way of approaching it. It's a good question. It's not so much for Kataklysm. I think that Kataklysm, it just needs a couple of tweaks on the live show that we're working on now, and we're going to be there. It doesn't require Kataklysm songs, man. You know, you play a song, everybody knows it, and the place explodes, and you don't need really to have this. Sometimes I think some bands overcompensate for the lack of music to do the big explosions in the shows and everything. Sometimes you don't need it unless you're a very image-oriented band and it's part of the story you're telling. Yeah, I get it. But some bands that you see that, like, why are they doing that? It's like, you know, I've seen that a lot, you know. And for Kataklysm, I don't see too much as a dream thing that I need to do. But for Ex Deo, now that's a different story, you know. If I had the money for that, I would probably have the most intense show on the planet, you know, because I would recreate Rome on stage completely, you know. Senators, you know, centurions, I would do everything, you know. They'd be insane. So somebody has investments, call me. We'll bring the biggest show of earth to see, for sure. You know, I could do some crazy stuff. I have also actors, coordinators, you know, but you have to do it, you know. And at some point, it was one of the reasons I didn't want to continue, because I don't see it getting there because of time also. But I needed, like, you know, my vision of the whole thing, you know, so you can, you know, have a movie playing back in the background while you play, and it's like you're inside Rome, you know. It's like, it'd be great, you know. You can have a entire backstage of screens that are like put you right inside the Colosseum while you're playing, you know. There's all kinds of stuff you can do. We'll see it one day, maybe. I could see Kataklysm as a biker flick, you know, guy going into a bar and there's a brawl gonna happen for sure, you know, something like that. I could see that, you know, like one of those, almost like not a western, but like those movies, you know, in the middle of the sand somewhere. Yeah. But Ex Deo, it's like, you know, I don't think I have to answer that one. It's like Rome, you know, a Roman movie. I think we could do a couple of gladiator type movies and be in there. I really like a record that helped me through bad times. '98, which was the year that I was having, you know, probably a mental and health fucking breakdown because of everything that was going on in my time. That time between '97 and '98 was an Everlast record called Whitey Ford Sings the Blues. That album for me just was there at the right time, you know, regarding that. Obviously. The anger was taken care of with all metal, but the pain with some different stuff and some blues blues as well. I guess that's the music to go with it, you know. So yeah, it's I'm a song guy, you know. Depends. It's not really records. It just depends, you know. So I kind of pick. Yeah. I always helped people in bands, and I always felt that I would be good at that. And when you know, after doing this all kinds of different ways, from touring in a minivan to touring almost in a car when I was younger, to touring in elite buses and doing Ozfest, and going from playing the shithole to the, you know, almost stadium type of environment. I've learned the what you do, what you don't do, and also in the music business contractually all the things that happen. So I've seen incredible bands destroy their careers, and I thought it was fucked up. And anytime, or if I have a connection with a band and I feel like I could do something, I do it, you know. And I felt that way. One of the bands that I picked up that was like that was the Storm in the old days. When I picked them up, it was 2009, and the band had way too much potential to just you know, stay there and do nothing, you know. Like, they looked disoriented, and there was a lot of issues going on around the band, and I gave them a hand, and today they are in a great place. They are great musicians. You know, 50% is going to be the music, 80% will be the music. Everybody else around you, just guide them right, you know. You try to avoid obstacles and stuff like that, so that they can get a real chance. In the end, the music talks, you know. You can be the best manager. If the band sucks, nothing's gonna happen, you know what I mean? So very difficult. Very difficult. It's not like it used to be. It's a very tough business. It's going back, you know. There was a time where, you know, there was some sort of like a good relationship between bands and industry, labels and all that. It's going back to that, like, you know, there was a time where a label won't touch another label's bands behind their scenes. There would be a time where managements won't cross each other. Bands would get along. All that's fucking falling apart because the money's less and less, so everybody's like out to get each other, you know. It's become very cutthroat, like it used to be in the 80s, you know. So it's kind of coming back now, I feel, you know. So you kind of got to be more on your guard and watch things. CDs dying completely. So it's becoming more like a vinyl now. People buy it for collection, you know. So when you're in that position, you know, and you're basing everything on digital and air, well then, because that's what it is, it's air, you know, you don't really own it. Now it's a different world, so you have to adapt, and you must adapt. You can't try to beat it, you can't try to escape it or whatever. You have to adapt, or else you're gone, you know. So that's simple. Look, exposure is the number one thing. If you don't show that you exist, then nobody will ever find you, you know. So I think obviously you have to use the tools, you know. Right now the internet is the most important one. You have to do sacrifices. There is nothing that's going to happen fast. I tell bands all the time that you have to wait at least 10 years. It's not going to be happening in because one album, you're looking at 2 years, 3 years. Then another one, you're looking at another 2, 3 years. But it takes 2, 3, 4 records before it spreads. You know, you can. One advice I would say to everybody that's starting, if you have a chance to own your own music and to license your record, if you get a record deal instead of giving it all away, that'll be the smartest thing to do at the moment. The way the industry's shifting. So, you know, it's more and more being able to control your own destiny now as a musician. And the best advice ever is be your own judge and listen to also what other people say. Because if your 20 people tell you suck, maybe you suck, you know, and you have to be your own judge for that, and you have to understand that, you know, yeah, some people say this is fucking good and it's good, and one guy says you suck, well, then maybe you don't suck. You have to kind of judge yourself to what am I doing, is it right or wrong, you know. So it's important, you know. So it's sometimes you have to take the reality check, you know. In the 80s, information traveled very slow. It's a time where, internet didn't exist. So we got going in the 90s. The internet for us was the fax machine. The way of communicating was a letter. I'd send a letter out to Germany. It'd take 2 weeks to a month before you get a response. That's how long it would be. So I'd send my demo to labels. I'd have to wait between 1 and 3 months before getting responses. That's how it works. That was those times. Now it's like immediate, So that's the huge difference. So everything acts quicker, dies quicker. So it's the same thing. It's like that band could last on one big record for 3, 4, 5, 6 years. It'd be a classic, right? Now it's like 2 years. Nobody's talking about it, or it's still there, but it's not. Everybody's like eating. It's like the world's much smaller now. It used to be bigger before. That's the difference. As far as fan approaches, like they're fed way too much. There's way too much out there. Everybody can put your demo in your mouth, and that's a big fucking difference, So you have to really be special. You have to be special, and you have to kind of be extremely, not kind of, you have to be persistent. That's the thing. It's like no doesn't exist in this business. It's like you gotta go, and fight all the way through until something happens, So even if you have one little positive thing, you take that positive and you build on it.
I think this digitalized world kind of made the fans nowadays a little bit not so enthusiastic and passionate about music anymore. I mean, because of streaming and downloading, everything is so fast that people don't appreciate music that much like back in the day. I think they don't really listen to the album anymore. Just pick a couple of songs that works.
Absolutely, absolutely. I also think that the political climate and everything that's going on, we're going towards this world that we're trying to satisfy everybody. It's impossible, right? Because there's going to be people that are going to take advantage of that. And now we're at a point, we used, we had a great thing in this world, in my opinion. It was freedom of speech. And now it's getting dictated by whoever wants to say that, yeah, this is cool, this is not cool. It's becoming like that. Even though sometimes it's both sides that are wrong. I believe it's like anything in the world, the majority is in the middle. And there's things on both sides that people agree, that mostly people agree, that make sense. It's logic. But there's a handful on each side that create chaos. They pull and boom, And when you're not affected a lot, you're in the middle, you're silent. That's why you call the silent majority, And I believe that's most of us, So it has a huge effect on the way music is today, That you can't express yourself entirely how you really are, There was rebels before. There's no rebels left, When Phil Anselmo went on stage back in the day, I was like, holy shit. He didn't give a fuck. He was like this. Fuck you all. And I was like, I love that fucking guy, because he's like, fucking a system, fuck everything. And that is disappearing, I'm trying, as far as me, do what I want on a stage, and I am very difficult to move. I do what I want to do, and I'm one of the old ones that still has that mentality. And I think that the world's shifting into like, oh, I'm sorry, and then it's like, what happens? Metal's not dangerous anymore. It's just not dangerous. There's no rebels. It's not dangerous. So why would it be popular? Hip-hop is dangerous. Hip-hop is popular because of that. They have all the girls, naked everywhere. They do all this crazy stuff. Nobody says nothing. You do it in metal, you're sexist. You're putting girls in. You're stupid, and like and not really metal, but in the rock days, that's what it was, right? Guns N' Roses, they were dangerous. There was this dangerous factor. Slayer, I was like, holy shit. Deicide, when it came out, Glenn Benton, everybody was scared of that guy. The guy's actually burnt a cross on his forehead. Upside down cross. He's got to be crazy. So it's like you have all this crazy stuff, and now you see a black metal band and you're like, it's a joke. So you don't have that craziness, you know. So they're bringing it into different levels of craziness that it shouldn't go, and it's, to make it dangerous, and it's, you know, they're fucking up. So it's like it's the reality of the whole industry right now, you know. So I'm waiting for the rebels to come back, you know. So they're dying off now, one after the other, you know.
Absolutely.
So. Well, Slayer will affect a lot the heavier side of things. They're like they were kind of like the godfathers, I think, of anything that was thrash related. You know, death metal, all that. That was the band. You know, like they were like the influence of all these other bands. You know, the heavy shit. So that's gonna definitely affect a lot. Once Maiden goes down, that's gonna be major. But then you're gonna have bands like Sabaton and stuff like that, I think, that are gonna start moving up to fill those places, you know, Power Wolf or whatever's out there that's doing noise and that's melodic and all that. But there's a huge difference between those bands and the Maidens and the Slayers. It's like this. They can try all they want, they don't have it. Sorry guys. It's just not the same, you know. Again, I'm not afraid of talking. You know, everybody knows that about me. But I great bands, great potential to do what they do, but it's just not the same world, you know. They don't make the impact that Iron Maiden did. That, you know, I think Ghost has something going on. They got some momentum, and they got a very cool imagery and idea behind it. So I can see that getting pretty big, like really big. But there's going to be a gap, you know. All these bands are going to go within 10 years, I think. And, you know, we'll see.
By the way, it's really cool that you're not afraid of this hashtag I'm offended shit, you know, that's going on in the world.
The what?
This hashtag I'm offended, you know, or whatsoever.
Oh, fuck that. It's so, you know, I'm offended. It's like, get in line, you know. Everybody suffers. Everybody has. Why you're going to be more special than somebody else? You know what I mean? You know, they have in the U.S. this participation medals, you know, like. You lost, you're still a winner. Now, motherfucker, you lost. You're a loser. Fucking get back on your feet and work hard, and now you become a winner, you know? It's like they're killing all what is competition. And in my opinion, it's important to have, you know? So, probably gonna get in trouble with this interview, but it's like, I don't care. Because the reality is that's destroying the foundation of everything that has to do with like trying to be better, you know? So when my son fails at something and I says, all right, it's okay to fail, you're gonna go back and you're gonna do it again. And he's like, no, I don't want to. And I said, no, you're gonna do it. You're gonna get your ass kicked, you know? And it's like, you know, now you kick your kid in the ass and you're going to jail, you know? It's like, what the fuck? My mom used to break, you know, brooms on my back, you know? Italian, hey, what are you doing? You know? I loved it, you know? It's like, shit, you know? That's what you want, you know? Then I didn't do it again. Right? So it's like, it's all about how you're brought up, how you're going to bring that mentality forward, you know. So
yeah. The same here. Like, I was slapped also a few times when I was a kid. Nothing happened.
Right, you know what I mean? It's like, it's not because, you know, they don't love you. It's because sometimes you need to wake up, you know. I'm not saying take a brick and hit the kid with it, you know. That's fucked up, you know. Like, again, everything's common sense and logic. Common sense and logic. You know, if you push somebody too hard, it's gonna get hurt, then it's fucked up. But you know, sometimes you have to, you know, they have to understand that, you know, life is not given, the world is not given to you. You have to earn it, and that's it. You know, like you have to go out there and make something out of yourself. It's not gonna happen by sitting down and complaining about it.
Exactly.
Yeah. One thing. There's a lot of things we have to
name a few.
You know, I think greed. Greed is the cause of a lot of problems. I think that's the main one.
Okay.
Greed. Never being satisfied. You know, it's also a great trigger to have drive, because if you're satisfied, you stop. So you want to keep going, but it's hard. You know. But I think greed is bad, you know.
Yes.
It's bad. My family is number one. They'll always be there for me, and that's untouchable, you know. my family number one. Grateful for the guys I have in my band. Without them, this would never happen. Especially JF and Steph that have been with me since the beginning, and that they continue to put up with everything and fight through all this. I owe my band to them, and my band, it's our band. But it was something that I took from nothing, and together we built, you know. And I'm grateful to my fans that have understood what I'm doing. It's not easy, so they get it. And the people that continue to push, like yourself, you push the message out. And without that, we lose our voice, you know. So, and those are the things that I'm grateful about, because I do what I love, and not many people get to do that in life. So I'm very grateful for that. It's gonna be an insane year. We're gonna finish this, go home, 2 weeks off finally, but that's it. And then we're going to do 4 release shows in the US for the album, because it comes out in 3 weeks. So we're gonna be doing these release shows in the US, and then coming back to Europe with open airs all summer. You know, we have like 11, I think, and then the big tour with Kataklysm and Hypocrisy. That's gonna be the first one. It's a very anticipated tour. It's a great package, so that's going to do really well, and we look forward to that. So we start our campaign with that. That's the plans.
Any message to your fans?
We love you. Thank you again for the incredible support, and you know, we understand you. Cheers.
Thank you for the interview.
Thank you.